Hey, what's up, GRE lovers? Today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look into another critical reasoning passage, and the best way to tackle these type of questions is to go for the answer. For the question stem first. So it says, which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? So my main task is basically try to come up with a loophole or probably try to come up with a counter argument to whatever the conclusion of the author or the passage has to state. So this is something that I should be doing from the very first get go. So let's just get into this passage and try to come up with a loophole or a counter argument against the conclusion of the author. Okay, so here it goes. The average temperature of the lobster rich waters off the coast of Falkland has been increasing for some years. Okay, so basically he's saying that the temperature has been increasing. Okay. In warmer water, lobsters grow faster. So the way this high temperature is linked to the lobsters is their growth rate increases. So they have a faster growth rate because of this raised temperature. Okay, so far so good. In particular, lobsters larvae take less time to reach the size at which they are no longer vulnerable to predation by young cod. Okay, the chief threat to the survival. Okay, so there is something which is going on here. Okay, so when these lobsters are small in size, then they are an easy target, or probably they are kind of like vulnerable, not safe because of this codfish, which is basically the predator which eats these lobsters. However, when they get big, they are not an easy target, or probably they are a lot safe or not that much of an easy target, something with this effect. So because the growth rate increases because of this temperature, the author is saying that, hey, you know what, since they are going to quickly grow to a large size in which they are no longer vulnerable to this cod, therefore probably something good is going to happen to the lobster, something to this effect. Consequently, okay, the second I see this word, I already know that probably the author is going to state his conclusion, his main point. The author says the survival rate of the lobster larva must be going up. So the final conclusion, the way he's basically concluding here, is he's saying that these lobsters' survival is gonna go up, and further, it says going up, and lobster population in Falklands coastal water bounds to increase. So his second conclusion is not only their survival rate is going to get high, their population is also going to go all the way up. So this is the overall argument, which is kind of like a deductive in nature, in which there is like a premise one, then there is a premise two, and finally there is a conclusion, which kind of like follows the premise. But I, I need to do something to this argument so that the lobster's survival rate does not go up and its population also doesn't go up. It's almost like A is being added to B, which is basically giving me this conclusion in which this lobster's survival rate and population is going up. However, I need to enter certain premise or probably certain information which kind of like dismantles the overall argument. So, how should I say, or what should I say, which states the fact that, hey, you know what, these lobsters are not safe, their survival rate is not going to go up, their population is not definitely going to rise, something to this effect. So, I can use one of these premises to kind of like make an argument in the favor of this codfish. I can say something to the effect of, you know what, even though this high temperature favors lobsters, however, these codfish become more active And because of that, even though their growth rate is much faster, okay, it's not faster enough because these cod are more active and they can quickly target, when these lobsters are small in size, something to this effect. Or probably I can say, hey, you know what, this high temperature is basically attracting other predators, or probably, there are other fishermen who are basically attracted to this place, and they are trying to hunt for these lobsters. They're trying to catch these lobsters, and eventually their survival rate is going to go down, or their population is going to go down. So if I want to summarize all of my argument, I can kind of like do it in the following way. I can say, okay, so we have lobsters, and we have codfish. Okay, so the lobster here is basically the prey, and the cod is basically the predator. Okay, so anything which basically is putting lobsters at our risk, okay, and putting cod as at an advantage, okay, so this is definitely going to weaken the argument, okay. Any option which is going to say something good about the predators, that hey, you know what, this temperature rise is making these codfish more active, or probably other predators are attracted towards this area, therefore these lobsters or survival is definitely going to go down, or anything which is increasing risk for the lobsters is definitely going to weaken it. And if I draw the opposite, okay, so lobsters ratio cod, anything which is basically putting lobsters to advantage and putting the cods to a disadvantage, or probably a risk, something to the effect of, okay, there are a lot of people or other predators who are trying to catch cod, or probably these lobsters have some type of mechanism in this high temperature in which they can kind of like shield their way out uh, through these high risk predators, that kind of thing. So I'm looking for a weakening case. So any option which is putting the lobsters in a risk or caught as at an advantage is definitely gonna help me out. So if I go back to the answer choices, over here it says cod are a cold water species, okay, and the increasing water temperatures have caused northward shift in the Falkland cod population. So if the cod, which is basically the main threat to these lobsters, if they are moving away, then basically these lobsters are at an advantage, and I am strengthening the argument instead of weakening it. So E is definitely out. D, even though lobsters grow faster in warmer waters have no effect on the maximum size to which a lobster can eventually grow. So maximum size. Okay. So if I was interested in strengthening the argument, then probably maximum size would have mattered. However, I'm not basically interested in strengthening it. How is basically maximum size is gonna, basically put these lobsters at any, disadvantage, because the size is kind of like helping them instead of, attacking them. So a larger size is basically not helping me because I want to put them at a risk. So D is definitely off the park because of their speed up growth. Okay, higher growth rate. Okay, lobsters now get large enough to be legal catch before they reach reproductive maturity. Okay, this is basically putting the lobsters at risk. Why? Because of their size, now there are easy catch, which means other people or probably predators can catch them, and they cannot reproduce. So basically, this is exactly basically debunking or critiquing this conclusion, this idea that hey, neither their survival rate is going up, neither their population is going up. So C looks pretty good. I'm just going to leave it for now. B says the increase in water temperature of Falkland has not been as pronounced as the increase in average soil temperature in the Falkland. So, in average soil temperature, does the argument says anything about the average soil temperature? This is completely off topic. B says there are indications that in the recent years, the fishing fleet operating off the coast of Falkland has been taking cod at an unsubstantially higher rate. So if people are fishing for the cod, then cod is basically at a risk, and the argument therefore is being improved instead of weakening it. We are strengthening the argument instead of weakening the argument. So A is definitely wrong. So through the process of elimination, C must be the answer. Okay, guys, I think the takeaway or final takeaway over here is if you can actually decipher what are the premise, what is the conclusion, kind of like make a general, standardized deductive argument, and kind of like pre-think how you can weaken that at what loopholes basically you can find or what statement you can add in to kind of like dismantle the overall equation and how basically you can create this link and how you can basically attach a value to the lobster or the cod so that one is at a risk and the other is at an advantage, and how will this weaken, and if you do the opposite, how will this strengthen? So if you have a clear cut understanding of all of these things and all of these mechanisms, then you're in a pretty good shape to weaken or strengthen the argument. Because at the end of the day, if this was a strengthening the case, or if the question asked you like, hey, which of the following would strengthen the argument, then definitely A would have been a brilliant answer because it is putting, the cod at our risk. Okay, guys, this is it for now. This is ABD signing out, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.